Good day. I welcome all of you who has joined us today. I am Olga Tamanova, and today I greet you in Media Center, Ukraine of Ukrinform. This war is going on for almost 10 years. This is the 720th day of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggressor to our land. Traditionally, I'd like to thank all the representatives of media who highlight and tell the whole world truth about our heroic resistance. Today we invited you to the presentation of the survey results of the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation. These are the results of the latest survey, which is focused on the finding out the relevant needs and challenges of the veteran community and the veterans which face them during the adaptation to the civilian life. So today I would like to introduce our speakers. We are joined by Ruslana Velychko-Trifonyuk, the first Deputy Executive Director of the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation. We have Dmytro Martynenko, military veteran, active duty serviceman, entrepreneur, and VARTO 2.0 competitive programs winner. Hello friends. So Ruslana, we will start with the presentation of the survey results. We know that now the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation and others are actively working to cover as many veterans as possible for them to get grants and start up their business. Is this need really relevant? We will get to know from this survey. Ruslana, let us speak about that. Do we have what we need on the screen? No, this is the report, this is not the presentation. Let our technical team cope with that. So far, let us speak about the surveyed, how the research took place for us to finally understand what was happening. So I think it's not a secret that as of now, we cannot provide the normal sociological survey, and all the organizations tell about that, the ones which deal with that all the time. That is why we did it just online as a survey, as a research, because last year in summer we surveyed and polled the employers. The employers gave us a bit of a picture what is really taking place, and in January 2023 all the employers announced and stated that 97% are ready to hire veterans. We provided a deeper research with the employers to understand whether these statements and intentions were declarative or not, whether they are real, and how they could really move to these actions. Unfortunately, we had rather sorrowful outcome because the employers could offer for the veterans rather low professionals with low qualification. However, the portrait of the veteran as of now has changed a lot since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and we have such two gaps. So these surveys were done to somehow cover the gap and understand what we can base upon, because the employers are interested to get veterans and they are amazed and surprised why the veterans are not coming to them. However, it is necessary to give something different to the veterans, and we need to understand it. That is why we decided to create this survey and to research what exactly the veterans need, what's their current state, and what they are troubled with. And a bit of a teaser to the survey, it's not employment. So the survey was done among the veterans, right? Or did you do that among the active servicemen? Because it's important to understand. Yes, the survey was conducted both among the veterans. However, I'd like to emphasize that the status of the combat participant is already making the person the veteran. So the servicemen who have this status are also the veterans according to the legislation. And also we've got lots of veterans who are again taking arms in their hands and came back to the front line to protect their country. We need to take that into consideration as well. Ruslana, how many veterans were surveyed, or the active servicemen as well? We had the number of more than 1,000. Honestly speaking, I cannot tell you now. And first, we had deeper research to define which problems are the ones which are troubling veterans. And after deeper interviews, we created the questions to survey the veterans. As far as I understand, the survey was anonymous. Yes, the survey was anonymous. However, we had some of the checking questions, as we have them in sociology, to cleanse the data. So those were the essay or quiz questions to get rid of the answers which could distort the outcome. We all understand that as of now, we have a wonderful Russian, unfortunately Russian psychological operations. So there were some of the quiz questions to find out what the real answers were. Did the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation do that on their own, or did you involve anyone? All of our sociological surveys are done with a sociological group of rating. Even when we are doing that on our own, they always consult us, and we are incredibly grateful for that, because all of that is done pro bono. Okay, let us try to get to know among our technicians whether we are ready to show the presentation now. Dear friends, please let us know. This issue is still being solved. Okay, then. Let us change the order which was planned in advance. Sometimes our technical capacities are failing us, so I hope we will be able to launch the presentation itself. So far, Dmytro, let us talk to you. You are the veteran. You are also the active warrior and soldier, and we thank all of us, thank you, because everybody who is watching us either online or offline, I agree with that. So could you please tell about your experience? We know that you have become the VARTO 2.0 competitive programs winner. Did it really help you, and how did it help you? Why did you decide to take part in it? And which was the outcome you got or you're willing to get? I had a wonderful experience about that. Yes, my name is Dmytro Martynenko. Thanks to the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation and the grant which we got, we have a rather big team, and thanks to our team and the professional capacities to get a grant, the consultations were permanent, and people maintained us in this support. So we got this grant. And as soon as possible, we created the network of the cafes. As of today, we have the brothers in arms who are already interested to launch and to start up a similar cafe, and we even have the 4th cafe opened today in Pereyaslav, in Kiev region, by our brothers in arms. Recently, I went to help them choose and select the premises. I gave them all the developed info which we got, and we are constantly in touch with them, helping opening this cafe. So you are giving a kind of a permit for the similar brothers in arms as you are to open such cafes or coffee shops in the same way. Yes, you're right. This is the incredible need among the veterans, because it's very hard for the veterans to adapt to the civil society, taking into account their experience and the morale, what they saw, what they felt. And now when they come back to Kyiv city, for instance, and when they get to among the civilians, it's hard for them to understand them, and for the civilians it is hard to understand the military. This is the kind of a wall, a kind of fringe, which can be broken gradually thanks to the fruitful and permanent cooperation between the civilians and veterans. We need this network of communication between them, which will give them the opportunity to adapt veterans to the civilian space. Please, Ruslana. Well, look, in fact, our society still needs to be brought up. And our society needs to perceive the reality that we are at war. And in fact, the war will not be over today or tomorrow or even this year. There will be more and more veterans. And according to my own example, I may say that when I had a personal, well, not tragedy, but issue, I was bringing my brother from the hospital on the cart for a walk. I wanted to cross the road, and I didn't have enough time for that. So, as he is the man, I had to totally turn the cart, and I heard the signals of the cars. So these declarative data, these data where they say and write and tell us about, still they have to be measured by actions. Still they have to be measured by deeds. Because our society, I do understand that this is easier psychologically to believe for the better, to believe that the war is over soon, to believe that everything is okay. However, we have what we have. And the further the war goes on, and all the sociological surveys show that, the less is the respect to the veterans. For instance, in the end of last year, we had a sociological survey with a group of rating, and whatever it may seem weird, but in the west of Ukraine, we had the lowest respect to the veterans, and at the east and north we had the highest level of respect, because they perceive the veterans as defenders, but when they come back, they become an issue. Ruslana, we are ready to speak in more details. Later we will go on with our conversation with Dmytro. Let us now see the presentation, and we can start the presentation. And let us now speak about employment of the veterans still. We surveyed, in fact, our research is divided into 3 groups. And as of now, let me tell you about the veterans who are not active duty servicemen in the defense forces of Ukraine. We have such veterans as well, and because of certain issues with health, they are not at service now. Thus, you can see at slide 1, what's your current sphere of activity and the number of unemployed. Let me remind you now the fact that 97% of employers would really be happy to hire veterans. So those are 2 parallel realities which do not coincide. Then, would you like to start up your own business, entrepreneurship? You can see the figures, 50.14%. Let me explain why. This is not about the wish, this is about survival. Because when you get to get a job and you're offered only some insufficient salary, or there is no onboarding process which would help the veteran, or you have a weird attitude from your colleagues, then the veterans get this way, just to start up their own work. It's not a secret that the biggest employers of veterans are veterans themselves. And also I'd like to mention that there was not a single time when we would hear from the veterans about any of the tax discounts or any of the tax preferences. We always hear only, just let us do our own business. But as for the employers, we always hear that they need some tax exempts. I think that the state has already provided lots of preferences for businesses and tax benefits. So far, the businesses are not concentrated on defense only, so they can do whatever they want to do. And we need to take into consideration that the veterans paused their lives and went to defend us. So the points that they went to defend the state, motivating that they went to protect the authorities, are really bad points. And it is necessary to tell our society that it's just nonsense, because they are not protecting the walls of Bankova Street or Hrushevskoho Street or of the governmental quarter. They are protecting us, our society, each of us. Okay, which help do you need now or will you need in the future? Considering the previous data that many people now are unemployed, so they need financial support most of all. Employment as well, and also strengthening their health and mental, psychological support. That is obvious and comprehensible, because we need to consider that the veterans are losing their health protecting us. Because to live in the trenches month after month cannot just pass like that. Maybe it would be a weird revelation, as it was revealed to me, but as the guys told, when our feet were frozen, we just had to dig them into the land, into the earth. Just imagine this reality. Then, which recovery services would you like to get in 2024? As of now, everybody says that it could be a sanatorium resort treatment, though the veterans say it is needed, though the people consider it is not. So creating any of the veterans' policy, we need to pay attention to the target audience for the sake of which you are doing that, not the target audience which can write a post in Facebook or in Twitter or anybody else in social networks and get many likes, because we have more veterans. And to focus this target audience, we need to focus on the vast audience. We need to respect these brothers in arms and take into consideration this data as well. Dental prosthetics is also a big issue as of now. We need to deal with dental prosthetics as well. Mental and psychological help. I am speaking about the veterans who are not at service now, because they need this help as well. Because all of them are now worrying for their brothers in arms. They are trying to help as much as they can. Now about the active servicemen, active duty servicemen. The sphere of your activity before you went to the army. You need to pay attention to that. All the employers should do that. Who the military were, who now are the veterans, before they went to service, and why they don't want to agree for the vacancies of a tractor driver and so on. Because, sorry, however, in fact, the protectors and the defenders of our country who went there during the first days, those were, in fact, the people who are committed to Ukraine, who have honor and consciousness, and who have lots of high values. Which professional skills did you gain during the military service? Somehow these professional skills are scary for the employers, but we need to search for talents among the employees, and we need to know how to use these talents. The point that the veterans are coming back with leadership qualities is incredibly cool, because as of now, a huge issue, and this is the world tendency, is the crisis at the job market, that we have this lack of managers of the middle, in fact, level. Because the middle level managers are the ones who keep the whole operational work. That is why they really know how to use document turnover, is it true, reports, and so on. Which recovery services would you like to get in 2024? And again, we can see sanatorium and resort treatment, and dentists, and psychological and mental help and counseling, and so on. So we need to pay attention to these points. Do you plan to come back to your job or training after demobilization? Yes is the majority, thanks God. It's hard to answer, is about 30%. Those are the ones who so far do not know and do not understand what to do. And also, I would really like to stress among our previous researchers, when the veterans answered, the majority of them during their service were already retired. And it is already banned, prohibited by the legislation. So would you like to do your own business or to become a start-upper after demobilization? We can again see this hopelessness because they do not find the place in the society. So they would like to do something of their own. And 16% say that they would prefer to be a hired employee. 11% said that they already have their own business. So the employers should pay attention to that as well. Because the veterans and the active duty servicemen now are of really high qualification. And they have really cool skills. In your opinion, which complications you personally have to face after the end of the war and after you come back to the civil life? Problems with their health. Lack of understanding from the society. Please pay attention. Lack of understanding from the society. Those are our declarative wishes and what we say now. Yes, we do respect veterans. Yes, we do respect the servicemen. Yes, we do respect everybody. The servicemen for you are just now answering that more than 60% do not respect. I don't speak personally to any of you. I'm speaking to the society. So retraining or re-qualification for the veterans, because we all understand that while the veterans are at war, while they are protecting us, they don't have an opportunity to study, to work, to develop our career, how we do or how we train and study. Do you see your professional future in Ukraine? No, definitely 4%. That is a scary figure, an indicator. Rather no than yes, 12%. That is scary as well. Just imagine the people who went to protect our motherland on their own, who are now protecting us, after the end of the war, they do not see their future in Ukraine. In your opinion, what's the option of professional development will be chosen by the veterans in the civilian life? 7% would like to go on with their military service. 14% would like to get a different qualification and to work as a hired employee. 15%, almost 16%, employment abroad. People who, as of now, risk their lives every day, people who understand perfectly that their every day can be the last one, they would like to find job abroad. That's a tragedy. 27% would like to come back to their previous job, and 30% the development of their own business. And now let's move to the hardest. This is about the skills. Here's what we need now, the hardest. According to your opinion, which obstacles in employment could the veterans face in the civilian life? Many people now say that it is very hard to hire the veteran because they got used to the very nice salary and so on. But what can we see? Mental state of health. This is about the active duty serviceman. The mental health state, 71%. And then we have some salary, only as the second point. However, the Ministry of Defense needs to take that into consideration. What do they do now if the people, the active duty servicemen, are saying that for them, the mental health is still the point which is an obstacle, not money? Do you have the information about the state programs, training and retraining of veterans? No, I do not. I don't know anything about such programs. 67%. So we need to understand that we have to work not only for the state with our information policy, but for the veterans as well. Because this figure is scary as well. Just imagine people understanding that when they come back to the civilian life, they don't know that there is such retraining, that they can train and study, that there are certain programs. So here we need to fully change the information policy. What do you think? Which conditions are necessary to provide while training or retraining of veterans? The worthy salary or stipend during the training, because many employers, and I heard it for multiple times, for instance, they say that to train and to work at drones we need 9 months. Very often I had to convince them that so as to train to work with other drones, with the strike drones, for instance, how much time did you need for that? That's the scary question. Instantly, you had to do that. So, the guaranteed employment. This is also that every big company and state entrepreneurs have to implement it, not after the victory, but instantly. They have to implement how they would bring the veterans back and what they will do with them. If they send them for training, they need to guarantee employment, a job. The expansion of training and retraining spheres, because recently I was looking through the data, what the employment centers are training for our veterans. For instance, driving courses. Just usual vehicles, the cars, not even transportation, just vehicles, driving. So maybe it is necessary to offer the people the really wide spectrum of all the opportunities as they are in the state. So why is it done like this? Maybe it is easier to offer the driving courses than to get into trouble with something else. Then, the centers on training services which should be closer in the regions of permanent residence. So it turns out that the veterans do not know that the employment centers exist in each city and town. It's also an issue. How do you assess the efficiency of the activity of line state institutions which need to help professional and career development of veterans in the civilian life? Definitely efficient, 3%. Definitely not efficient, 25%. More inefficient is 29%. I think that out of the previous data, what I told you already, this figure is not surprising for you. Then, according to your opinion, what is necessary to improve in the work of line state institutions which have to help professional and career growth of veterans in the civilian life? To decrease bureaucracy. Because not every person is capable to live through all of those bureaucratic processes. I name them just throwing the hot potato. When the veteran is coming to you and you say, oh, you should go there. And they say, oh, you should go there. Right? Yes, it happens. So we need to make all of that under one umbrella where the veteran is coming and then he or she is given all the services and all the opportunities. Focus on the needs of the veterans, 64%. So we develop certain programs for the professional and career growth of veterans in the civilian life, which the veterans do not need. And then we are surprised why they do not need it. But we did not ask them what they need. Maybe we should. So, the implementation of high-quality services. This is what tells us about the low level of service. And I heard for more than once from the veterans who I'm communicating with from dawn till late night, how satisfied they are with the service when they come, for instance, to any state institution. Expansion of opportunities of services and vacancies of educational and training programs. We need to understand that the world is being developed. And it's also necessary for us to develop. We need to understand that the crisis at the job market is not only here. This is the world tendency. And more than one research was done about that. Somehow we need to adapt ourselves to that. What was already mentioned in more than one research, everybody is asking for digitalization of services. No one wants to face this bureaucracy, and no one wants, having such an attitude towards the veterans, to communicate with the people. It's better to communicate with the phone or with the laptop. To develop communicational skills of the employees. Almost 39%. This is the assessment of all of our employees of state institutions. How they communicate with the veterans. Not what they declare, but what is the real picture. To provide inclusion and barrierlessness. If some center offers the veterans some service, however, the ramp is done in such a way that you are not even capable to get into the premises. I think even the tractor would be not capable to get there because it's vertical. It is a huge issue. We all heard about the military commission when you have to climb the 4th floor and so on. We need to pay attention to that. And also we need to be really quick and rapid with our work. Which solutions do we offer? We need to change the model of the current information cooperation and interaction with veterans and active duty servicemen with the strengthening of the inclusive component while spreading and disseminating information products which are created for the veterans. Every time when we, for instance, in the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation, when we create some information campaign, first we need to survey not the veterans we know personally, but all of them, overall. And we focus on their opinion, not the veterans who collect likes in the social media, but the veterans who are living in the villages, in the settlements, and so on. It is so important. The decrease of bureaucratic component and implementation of high-quality service. As each program which is being developed by the state should be based on the relevant needs of the veterans, of the wider circle, not just some advisor, the veteran who is closer to you, because that's his or her subjective opinion, not some friend, not some brother or relative, but the wider circle of veterans. Make the work on optimization both of the current and new programs of training and retraining more relevant, with an objective to make the conditions of the programs closer to the real needs and individual opportunities of the veterans. That is again about the driving courses which I mentioned above, because when you're coming to the driving courses, it's obvious that at least you can get the driver's license or something like that. But it is necessary for the veterans to get some other courses. They need different ones. They need management courses, time management courses, and so on. The same what we need. And the state has to offer that, and that's what the state has to promote. The state has to change its educational policy, considering that we will have so many and much more veterans. And also, according to the opinion of the vast majority of veterans now and in the nearest future, they will need such types of assistance, financial support and health support. I think it's obvious that all of that is interconnected, because to strengthen your health, you need money. We all understand that there cannot be free healthcare. So you can download this research using the QR code. A bit more is described there. And as of now, thank you for listening. Thank you, Ruslana. I hope that this research can be also downloaded at your website. It will be there. And I would instantly like to ask you about this, what the state has to do. Because we understand that when we say that the state has to do something, that we have people everywhere. So what communication is taking place now? I understand that the veterans are not that likely to know about job employment centers. The issue that they do not associate the employment center with the place where they can get high-quality retraining. Maybe this is the issue. So this is the question to you, Ruslana, or Dmytro, if you're ready to answer as well. What can we do here? Maybe for the wider circle or active citizens to change it. And where do you see the development already? Let us ask Dmytro first. In a nutshell, as far as I understand, the viewers can be different, as well as the active duty servicemen who have certain distrust to such events and people with my status. I was the serviceman during 2012-2013. In 12-13, I took part in Donetsk region combats, then in Lugansk region for half a year, and took part in the combats since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Just before that, we developed the plan with my brothers in arms of resistance, at least at our low level, to repel the armed aggression from Russian Federation. So during the first 3 months, I was working and fighting at my own expense. Still, we didn't get any reimbursement, but it's okay. We can cope with that. We got the machine guns in the police, and we worked with those guns. As for the employment sense, the job employment centers have launched a good program, an initiative for people with disabilities. It is a bit of a different sphere, but we lack communication. Communication with the veterans, with people with disabilities, and with the participants of combats. They don't know about the existence of such programs. Now the employment centers are coming to public organizations and charitable foundations, working with them. But the majority of charitable foundations are now some businesses, which we do not understand. They are created for their own earnings. I can only offer, because I'm the head of the department of Kiev Union of Veterans, and we are working on that for more than 4 years. I know a lot about that. Today we began the cooperation with the employment center. They had to sign a memorandum with us. They show some interest, but I didn't see them insisting or active actions about that. So we have the programs, but they are not working. Together with my staff at my level, we'll try to disseminate the information among the brothers in arms who are in other cities, in our district where we are working. But this is the tiny level. We need more advertisement and communication with the people who need this support and help. But mostly the people who are now at combat, I would even separate the participants of the combats who are now in the rear, though I wouldn't like to, in fact, offend them, but the acknowledgement and understanding of the combats and understanding of the people who are at the front line is similar to the one among the veterans and the civilians. Dmytro, you registered your business. We are speaking a lot about bureaucracy today. Is it the problematic way for our veterans, the warriors? Or everything is working there already? There are huge issues already, of course. First of all, I'm the active duty serviceman, so I cannot sign the contract as an officer, though I have a huge experience of combats. I'm communicating with soldiers and generals in one handshake or even direct acquaintances. And I brought the people who never took part in war, I brought them there and I helped them to register at the military service. Unfortunately, the programs which you mentioned had to go on for 6 to 12 months. We had to study and to find instructors on our own. It was a bit hard. I would like to thank you for the analysis of the veterans' needs. It is really the one which is now acting. It is totally correspondent with the reality. Ruslana, the question to you, how will you communicate this list of needs, which Dmytro says is so relevant for them, with the authorities which are responsible for its implementation? Do you have this dialogue? Do you consider that it can be working? Because we saw, out of what we saw, seems there is nothing hard there, and complicated there. The most important thing is to overcome bureaucracy. When we have the proper wish, we can definitely do that. Do you plan any of the steps, and do you understand the way how we can influence them? Look, as of bureaucracy, we are fighting bureaucracy with bureaucracy. If I need some legislative authority and to send this research to, honestly, I am just sending that in a bureaucratic way to get the proper response. And also, we are going to the committees where we present it. We are going to different events where we collect meetings. And we also present all of that. We also launch information campaigns. In August, we had the first sociological survey where we measured attitude towards the veterans, because we used to measure attitude towards the armed forces only, and the veterans and the armed forces are different. And the attitude can be totally different because of the psychology and personal protection. So 30% of the citizens, and it took place after Bucha, said that the veterans are associated with the veterans of the World War II. So we decided to impact the whole country. We went to the front line where we made pictures of the active duty servicemen. We put the billboards all over Ukraine with the message that yes, I am the veteran and I'm protecting again. We want people to know that the veterans are young people. And every time when we provide a research, we analyze that, and we also every time provide some media campaign. As of now, we have a media campaign which has the name of The Way of the Veteran, where we plan, together with the other authorities, the development of the map of the way of the veteran, where we'll document, in fact, and when we issue that in the Territorial Military Commission, for the veteran to know what opportunities he or she has, where to get to, and so on. Also, the Ukrainian Foundation has legal counseling. In fact, we're a bit out of time with those legal assistance, so we apologize in advance, because those are individual written consultations. Because when you speak on the phone, you will forget about that in half an hour. But when you write exactly what you need, then when you get help how to fill in the application, then it will be working. So this is how we are helping as well. We have the crisis hotlines of support where we provide help as well. And further on, we also expand the foundation with the help of our international partners, still to try to solve these issues with the veterans. The previous presentation on employers, when we had our common meeting with the employment centers, was shown as well and sent out to them. And this presentation will be also shown everywhere. This is how we interact with them. Dear colleagues, I would like to join you to the conversation. If you've got comments or questions or any reflections, please, the floor is yours. There are no questions left. I scared people off. I think that there is lots of food for contemplation for all of us, so the questions will emerge later. Dmytro, I would also like to ask you, how many people are employed now among the veterans now? Unfortunately, as of the veterans, let me mention again, I'm dealing with a public organization. We have a huge staff. We involved more than 100 volunteers. those are mothers or just wives or just civilians who are helping the front line. So in our organization, there are lots of participants of combats who I know since 2014. The situation is that the majority of the guys who are coming back with disability, unfortunately, are coming back to the civilian life in this state. The answer is that I'd like to relax for half a year, not to do anything, not to hear anything, just to do my daily affairs. And in the future, they will need to find some resource, financial resource, and to find something to do, because it will be very hard for them to adapt to the life, let alone civilian life. Your most important top 3 of the problems we need to solve as a society. Just now? Well, I would say first and foremost. Well, the statistical data which you showed is really relevant. You can take it and work with it. That is really, I confirm that. Maybe in the comments, you can also see the comments from the veterans, and they can confirm my opinion, for it not to be just without any confirmation and substantiation. For the veterans who are coming back now, they really need now some of the sanatorium and resort treatment to stay at some light situation and to do whatever they want to do. The only point is that we need to separate the families of the deceased. They should be united. And, for instance, we should separate them from the families with the survivors. And also, those resorts cannot be common for the veterans and civilians. Those should be some sanatorium and resort bases for veterans only, where they would be able to relax, to communicate with each other, to be in the calm and quiet situation. It's highly desirable for it to be at the Western Ukraine. As far as I know, they don't have curfew there as well. Well, for me, this perception is different. They don't have curfew, so the person should feel calm and quiet, and then come back home and think about the work. We can also involve the experts about the consultations on professional work, on the selection of profession or training. All of that can be united, and it would be really cute. They would be in the same focus. I thank you for your opinion. The last words, please. And also, the Ukrainian Veterans Foundation last year has had, with the Ukrainian Catholic University, the course on the reintegration of the veteran. It is very popular and easily telling us about the cause and effect, what is happening with the person. It's very important to understand what is happening with the person when he or she comes back, what they lived through. And also, they have the consultations about how we could select the career path. If you'd like to become a sole proprietor, you will face this and that. If you'd like to get to the public organization, this and that. If you'd like to find a job, this and that. This is how you write a CV, and so on and so forth. And also, I would like maybe to mention and to confirm the words of Dmytro that all of that should be separate. At the very simple example, just imagine the veteran is coming back. And yes, it's not a secret for us, though somehow the society says that you can come back only because of disability. Yes, it is true just now, only through the disability. So this is the current situation, because the country is in such a situation. And just imagine when in the educational institution someone is sitting of 40 years old, getting the second education because there are reasons for that, because then you can have a delay from mobilization, and there is a veteran with a disability sitting there. How can that be? This is the real example from the real life. Thank you. Unfortunately, this is the end of this event as of now. I would like to thank you for the interest to this topic, and of course I'd like to say that all of us should find strength to look at the courses, to look into the courses and to understand better and to help the people who chose this way to protect us in our life. So I thank you. I thank all the security and defense forces, thanks to whom we can conduct such events. We are working on for our victory. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.